Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, you are going to hear opinions. And while the podcast is endorsed by Uriah Heep, the opinions of the host and various guests do not necessarily represent the opinions of the band or any of the members past or present. With that being said, let's celebrate the music of Uriah Heep. Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, that's me, and I have another song off of High and Mighty to go over with you guys today. This one is called Make a Little Love. Not a lot of love, a little love. Sounds about right. It's been a while. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since we've had a shuffle. I can't think of what the last one was. But we have a shuffle today, but not the typical double shuffle that you would hear Uriah Heep play. We have just a regular shuffle, and it's a little bit different. It's very classic rock and roll of the day, something that feels just right for that era and holds up to today as far as I'm concerned. But it's a good song. It's got some great guitar in it. I love the sound of the guitar. It's like kind of not a lot of low end in it. It's kind of screechy a little bit, but it just fills in so nicely. And, great vocal. It's got all the stuff. And so we're going to get into it right now. Here is Make a Little Love by Uriah Heep. Yeah, it just feels so comfortable, this style of music, doesn't it? It's very, very rock and roll, very the kind of stuff that you would hear if you were, like, let's say in a bar or a pool hall, something like that. Just that kind of stuff that you expect to hear in an environment like that. But it certainly holds up. It's a great shuffle. You've got a lot of bass drum work so far on this one, whereas normally you'd have the snare and hi-hat in a Uriah Heep shuffle, but it sounds good. It's just, a classic shuffle, classic blues style, kind of thing. I don't know all the right terms. They're just not coming to me at the moment, but it really has just a good warm feel to it. Love the sound of the guitar. This album, I've realized, definitely sounds like it's a studio album. There's some albums that come out and they just you don't think about it being recorded in a studio, but for some reason with this one, the way it sounds, it just kind of has that. It just sounds recorded and not like live. Not that they weren't playing live, but I mean not at a live venue. It sounds like it was recorded in a studio. It just has that, non-reverby, non-big sound to it. It's very dry, very straightforward. I hope I'm saying that right to get my point across. I'm not sure I am. I just had a bunch of frosting. I don't know why. But in any case, it's got a good start to it. Very nice guitar sounding. I love the Hammond accents instead of it being something that plays full chords during that part. And then we're about to hit the vocals. I love that little progression going into the vocal part. It sits so nicely in this kind of music, and it's really what you would expect. And that's another thing that's very common in this style of music, especially back at this point. And I think about, Southern rock a lot with this too, because they do a lot of this kind of music in the South, here in the States, where you have the verse, you've got the shuffle going on, and then you have these little guitar fill-ins in between the lines of the verse, which are really nice. And then, you usually have like a pretty standard riff to go back to as the foundation of the song, as we just heard. But it's cool. It's got a good groove to it. It's pretty upbeat. Similar in story, I guess, to All My Life from Demons and Wizards. Can't believe that title didn't come to me right away because I know that song so well. Apparently not tonight. But in any case, yeah, it's just a good classic rock and roller. I definitely notice it more in this song because we have so much more bass drum work going on. But, it makes the drums even louder than they have been on the rest of the album, which, as I've said, I think the mix is too drum heavy anyway. It's burying the vocals a little bit. And if your story isn't coming through, then it becomes more of an instrumental with the vocals being another instrument as opposed to, singing the lyrics or whatever the song is supposed to be about. So that's why, to me at least, balance is so important. I do feel that the mix on this album is a little bit off balance. Again, I'm listening to the remastered version, so I don't remember how some of these songs sounded on the original version. So it could be a product of the remaster, certain frequencies that were dialed back and others that were pushed forward. But in any case, the end result is what it is, and I'm feeling a very drum-heavy mix and a very vocal-light mix. Which for me is not my favorite. It's not bad. It just needs some minor adjustments, but certainly does not work as well as it could, for these particular songs or really for any songs. But that's all right. That's what we have to listen to. It's still a great vocal, and the delivery is absolutely solid on it and sounds really good. Just low in volume. But the feeling's there. The shuffle feeling is nice to have a Heep do one that isn't a double shuffle. I like how they mix it up a little bit, especially on this album. It seems like this album, they were really interested in taking some chances and doing some things that were a little different from what would be expected of them. And I like it. Of course, we have the two guitar tracks. We have a rhythm guitar track, which is holding in there very nicely, and then we have the lead track, which is doing the little fillers in that. But interestingly, while we're hearing a little bit more guitars and we're hearing bass, we're not hearing that much adventure in the bass. It's really sticking to the groove of the shuffle and kind of giving the guitars a chance on this one. It's so interesting, the dynamic of how this band changes things from one song to the next. And in this case, they've chosen to, lay back this instrument to feature that instrument. And it's really cool because at the end of the day, everybody gets their chance to shine. Yeah, always great to hear a solo like that. It felt like he was really feeling it, really into it. These kind of solos that are in, this sort of Southern rock style song have to really deliver a feeling. Otherwise, I feel like the song kind of falls apart without it. And he definitely delivered it here. Love the solo. I think it sounds great. I love the tonality of the guitar here too, because again, it's not bottom heavy. It's distorted, but it's more of a fuzzy versus like a low end distortion. And I think it really works for this style of song because those solos are usually played in the, mid to upper range, not too high, but more towards the mid upper, like you would say, southeast. It's not really east; it's more south than east. But it feels like a good solo. It's one of those that I could picture someone playing and just like have their eyes closed and go on pure emotion. Then here's where I should go next, or thinking here's what I should play. It just feels very natural and off the cuff. So if it wasn't, great job. And if it was, great job. It does feel like the song got a little heavier. I think it picked up tempo slightly. And, again, we're back in the times when there's no click track being recorded to. Nobody's sitting there with a metronome telling the drummer he's playing too fast or slow. Everybody has to just be good at what they do. But it definitely feels like it got a little heavier and a little faster there towards the end. I like that. I like the way they ended it. It would have been a good ending for the album, but we do have actually one more official album release song to go to. So this is the second to the last. But it's just got a good feeling to it, a good groove. It's the kind of thing that you can just drink a beer and listen to, kind of bob your head around as they're playing through the song. But overall, good stuff. Good stuff, guys. I like it. So that will wrap up our Tuesday episode and our song Make a Little Love. I dig it. It's a short song. It's like 3 minutes and 27 seconds, but it goes by so fast. So weird how that happens. And a lot with this band, I've noticed that the perception of time, when I look at the clock or I look at the length of the song and I see how far into the song we are, every time I'm like, we can't be that far in yet. We've only just started. But, they cram so much into some of these that they're just so enjoyable and they go so fast. It's really hard to have an accurate perception of time. I remember when I interviewed Mick, we talked about that. I was talking about not, being able to get away with long songs these days. And he pointed out that there's a 10-minute song on Living the Dream. And I thought, is there? Because it just didn't seem like it. When I went back and checked, yeah, he's absolutely right. But it just goes so fast that you don't really realize that you've been sitting there for that long and listening to the song. I like that. That's such a sign of good writing, good performance. When you as a listener just get sucked in and time goes by before you know it, that's just quality right there. It's a good sign that you're enjoying yourself. So anyway, great job on this song, guys. We'll be back on Wednesday for the final album track, Confession, and then we hit a couple of bonus tracks before we wrap up this 9th album of the band and get into double digits with Firefly, I believe it is. So enjoy, guys. Have a good day. Have a good day tomorrow, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, The Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!